ProLife Radio is a pre-recorded program paid for by ProLife Radio.
Preserving the sanctity of life in Florida. A loud voice for the unborn. This is ProLife Radio with your hosts, Vicky and Bruce Cherry.
And welcome again to another edition of ProLife Radio on a Sunday night. I'm Bruce Cherry. Across from me, my lovely wife, Vicky Cherry.
Hello.
And we have a great guest with us tonight, longtime friend and creator of the ProLife silver coin that we'll be talking about, Chris Casler, political activist, artist, photographer, abolitionist.
Abolitionist.
Actually, yes, not just pro-life activist, but abolitionist. So
we were talking about the difference between somebody that says they're pro-life and somebody that's actually an abolitionist.
Yeah. Because we know ProChoice means ProDeath. So, but before we get started, we always start things off with Jeremiah 1:5 and prayer.
Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I sanctified you. I ordained you a prophet to the nations.
Dear Heavenly Father, we ask for your blessings once again upon this show, upon our guest, Chris, upon his household, upon his ministry, his business. And God, we ask for blessings upon all who hear this show tonight, that we touch hearts and change minds, and that we can save just one baby. If we can do that, we know we've been effective. And God, we pray that you be at work in all that we do, and that all that we do is pleasing to you. Heavenly Father, thank you. In the name of your precious Son, Jesus Christ, we pray. Amen.
Amen.
So, Chris, welcome to the show. Thank you for joining us tonight. We appreciate it. Tell us about. Let's go ahead and jump into the ProLife silver coin. Now we're videoing for streaming on the web, and so I'm holding up the coin so for folks to see, and we'll get a picture of it on our website as well. But it's a sterling silver coin. But tell us about it.
200 years ago, the inhumane transatlantic slave trade thrived on human misery. Hundreds of thousands of people were forcibly transported across the ocean in ships to the New World. Most of them went to South America, and a great many others came to North America and the Caribbean. At the time, a campaign to stop the slave trade, not to stop slave trade itself initially, but to stop the transportation of these poor people, was begun by William Wilberforce. And he enrolled a British potter, famous for his name today, Josiah Wedgwood, to design an iconic medallion. It features a kneeling African slave in chains, and it is inscribed, "Am I not a man and a brother?" These coins can be found today on eBay, still for sale. They're beautiful mementos of this horrible time and of the effort that was made successfully to stop the slave trade, which ultimately led to the passage of legislation in Parliament in 1807. Now, this coin was originally created or minted in 1787, so it took 20 years from the beginning of that coin's existence to the passage of the historic Slave Trade Act that stopped the trade. Now, the trade itself continued. It had to be enforced. The British Navy gets high marks for the efforts that they made over dozens of years to stop it. And they were instrumental in preventing the trade. Not abortion in this case, slavery, of course, continued. And that's ultimately what led to our American Civil War, as we know.
Mm-hmm.
So today, while we're wrestling with the evils of abortion, not slavery, we are doing everything we can to champion the people who courageously fight against it and who work to protect the inalienable right to life. And so our coin, which is also a 1 ounce sterling silver, 999%, actually it's not sterling, it's 0.999 pure silver. Sterling is 92% silver, is a coin that has an inscription on it, "Am I not a child to you, my brothers and sisters?" And I admit this was inspired by Wedgwood's coin, and why not? So ours is a 1 ounce, 999 fine silver coin. It's the size of a silver dollar. It was minted at the prestigious Highland Mint, which is in Melbourne, Florida. And we expect it to continue to have the impact that Wilberforce did in his day. and it represents a personal message of solidarity and commitment against abortion for anyone who has one. We're using part of the proceeds to support ministries such as this radio program going into the years ahead.
Amen. Absolutely. And Chris has already written us a check for the sale of some of these coins, and we urge you to, if you're pro-life, if you are an abolitionist, you consider yourself an abolitionist, get this coin. It is beautiful, and there's on one side is a child in the womb sucking its thumb, and on the other side is a cross with the inscription, "For you created my inmost being. You knit me together in my mother's womb." Psalm 139:13. It is beautiful. It is a beautiful. And Vicky and I, we purchased one of these coins. We have one in our collection, and we are very pleased and blessed to have it. So, Chris, thank you for that. The only way I could possibly see that this coin could be better is if you could figure out a way to take a child's image from their ultrasound and superimpose it on the face of the child. That's the only way you could do that any better. And knowing Chris, because he's an artist, he's thinking about that right now. It's going through his head. I know he is. So
you're quite correct. we made 500 of these coins initially, and they're available. And they either come in a clear plastic capsule to protect them, because this pure silver is very easily scratched. We also present them in presentation boxes, and we had 500 of them minted. They're numbered, and I'm already, as you pointed out, I'm already considering a new design for the next edition, so to speak.
Well, they are beautiful, that's for sure. How can people get one? How can they get in touch with you and order one?
They're online, available at www.christiancoins.net, which will take you straight to a page where there's a photograph of the coin, both front and back, and a place where you can fill in your order form. If you're nearby here in Orlando, I'd be happy to deliver them in person. Otherwise, the delivery charge is $10 a piece by Federal Express, and that's working very well. They come to you to the doorstep by FedEx.
Very nice.
And that website again?
ChristianCoins.net.
ChristianCoins.net. Coins, so plural. ChristianCoins.net. Got it. All right, so we're entering a kind of a precarious time, as we saw a couple of weeks ago with the elections in Virginia and in New York City and California and some other places around the country, which we're seeing that the left is surging, and that can have really, really dire consequences for pro-life.
You know, though, it made it sound like they're taking over, and that in the next big election, the conservative group is gonna fail miserably. But I think that's just a scare tactic, because you think about it, those states are blue. Now, to me, the miracle is how close the conservative was. Not in New York so much, but in the other races. I was encouraged by that. So I think a lot of it is fear mongering. You know, they're trying to make you fearful that, hey, you guys are on a downslope here, you conservative Christian nationalists.
You may be right.
I would agree with you, Vicky. I think most of these, if not all of these elections took place in jurisdictions that were already solidly blue. They weren't upsets. It's not like we had somebody running as a staunch Republican pro-Trump candidate who was defeated. That wasn't the case.
Right, and I think that's what we're seeing.
What I will add to that, and you know I have a lot of experience in this area, what I will add to that is that the Republicans failed to put up candidates that were sufficiently viable to win. And I do think that is something worth considering and needs to be looked at.
And that's what I was just going to say. Yes, I totally agree, Chris. I think that is what we're seeing. We didn't have any good, strong Republican candidates. We just didn't. You look at the people that were out there. And I'm not saying anything bad about Silva. How do you say his name? Silva?
Sliwa. Curtis Sliwa.
We needed somebody that was more popular, that was out. Already people knew about him or her. And we just now I'm hopeful for the governor race.
Well, yes, I am too. But if the Republican Party, and because I used to be the chairman, we're still members of the Republican Party of Seminole County, Florida, we sign an oath. And I don't understand. I mean, I get it why Donald Trump supported Cuomo instead of Sliwa, but I think the Republican Party as a whole should have thrown their support behind Sliwa, even though they felt, okay, it's a long shot if he wins. Well, you got to go all in.
We see it all
it's
the
like
time
a poker
in
game. You got to go all in, and I think they should have gone all in. There was so much at stake there.
Absolutely, we see it all the time in Orlando. We're letting all these very disturbing Democrats get in these offices in Orlando, all over the place,
But
with no good, strong Republican.
But the
option.
oath that we sign is that we will not support anyone else but a Republican in a race. And the Republican Party supported Cuomo because they felt he was the lesser of two. No, I don't think it was they thought he was the lesser of two evils, because the guy is evil, that's for sure. But they thought he had a better chance at winning. And
then the horrible.
So in a city of 8.5 million people, the largest in the country, the Republican Party couldn't come up with somebody sooner and better than Cuomo.
Yeah.
Amen.
Yeah.
It's horrifying.
Hey, we've got to take a break. We're up against a hard break right here. We'll be right back, and we're going to continue this train of thought. What do the elections mean for the pro-life movement? It's scary. It is scary. We'll be right back with more Pro-Life Radio on a Sunday night on AM 950, FM 94.9, The Answer. Okay. So when we come back, let's talk about the candidates that are running in the governor's race. Okay.
If you like, or we can set the stage by discussing the candidates in the state who support abortion rights.
Well, that's what I mean. That's what I mean when I say that. Let's talk about the pro-life or talk about the pro-choice candidates first, and then we'll.
You want to go to pro-choice first?
You know what? I'll let you lead it. We're just going to come back.
When you say pro-choice, let me be dead sure I remember what you mean. You're talking about
pro-choice or pro-abortionist.
Pro-abortion,
Yeah.
pro-death. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah. So we can talk about those first, or we'll just talk about the races coming up. And I'm gonna leave it to you. You've got the details there in front of you. So. Okay.
Well, where would you think we should start? We can start with the abortion advocates, or we can start with the life advocates.
Let's start with the death advocates first, and then give the life side of it.
I got a lot.
Okay.
You'd be surprised at how many there are.
It'll be edited. All right. We are ready, Pete. Let's go back in 3, 2, 1. And we are back on a Sunday night, Pro-Life Radio. In the studio, Vicky Cherry across from me. I'm Bruce Cherry.
Good evening.
And we have our guest, Chris Casler, on with us. Chris, the designer of the Pro-Life silver coin that I'm holding up on camera. And you can get your coin at www.christiancoins.net. It is 99.9% pure silver. And part of the proceeds go to support pro-life ministries and efforts. So, Chris, thanks for being on the show tonight. We were talking earlier about the elections and what they could possibly mean for the pro-life movement, because there's so many pro-choice advocates out there on both sides of the fence. And so it's hard to know who we should be supporting in the races coming up.
Well, I appreciate that. I have a list of a few here. We should always remind people that this notion of pro-choice is actually choosing death. It's not about life. It's quite the opposite. This is, of course, the way they mangle the language to their advantage. Mm-hmm. So on my list of representatives, congressional representatives, we have Lois Frankel, Florida 22, Frederica Wilson, Florida 24, Sheila Sherfilius McCormick, Florida 20, which is way south Florida, Debbie Wasserman Schultz, Florida 25, Maxwell Frost, our own local type, Florida 10, Jared Moskowitz, Florida 23, and Kathy Casler, Dental, which I think this list is a little misleading because she is now the supervisor of elections in the city of Orlando in Orange County.
And
So-
now we mentioned that that these people are pro-choice. Are they all Democrats? Are some Republicans? Are they independents?
Okay, let me clarify. Every Democratic member of Florida's congressional delegation is pro-choice
Okay.
and opposes Florida's abortion bans. So I listed them by name. If they're a Democrat and they're a congressman, they're pro-choice, period.
That's pretty much a given, but I just wanted to make sure we clarified that for the listeners.
You know, and
To lay
again,
it out.
earlier-
Is an exception. Go.
earlier we talked about how we are not putting any good choices up there against these people. Maxwell Frost is a perfect choice. We are not supporting those Republicans that do
Perfect
take it.
example. Perfect example.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, not a perfect choice, perfect example.
No. So we had some other Republicans or some Republicans up against like Maxwell Frost, but he got did not get any backing from the party. I mean, you cannot go up against these people that are backed by the Democratic Party by money and votes and encouragement. They totally back their candidates. So we had some people that stepped up that wanted to run against them and take these positions back to conservative positions. And they can't win because they don't have any backing.
So, Chris, you know some of those folks.
That's part of it. I mean, if I may,
Yes.
I don't want to get too far off the track, but if I may, last year's election, the ballot in Orange County, Florida, had 12 races without a single Republican.
Oh, my.
And I would put that straight on the party. I mean, the parties may be saying, well, nobody volunteered, nobody stepped forward. You know what? These people should be out beating the bushes looking for candidates, which is what I've done. That's why Steve Dixon ran, because I went out and persuaded him to try. You need to find people that are at least up to it, but they need to be encouraged and found. No effort was made. They're more excited about having a pretty office building down on Orange Avenue. Okay? And the chairman of the county party wants to run for the House herself. But she hasn't done a darn thing about finding candidates to run for these other offices. And 6 of those 12 offices all paid $200,000 more, 6 figures. And there's still nobody running for them. How can you explain that?
Well, for someone who really wants someone who really wants to serve, the money's not an issue. I mean, it's not about the money. If it is
I
about,
understand, but still.
well, no. I'm just saying that because I don't want people listening and hearing and thinking, it's about the $200,000 salary. Because trust me, okay, when you get into that and you're working hard for the people, that $200,000 is not nearly enough for the time and the effort that goes into really genuinely serving the people. And that's why we find ourselves with sometimes with corrupt politicians. And I don't want to get off on that track. So it's really about
nobody running.
Yeah, we've got
money or no money.
We've got to find and Chris is right, we've got to find people who genuinely want to serve the people and want to affect positive change for our society.
Which is why it's so important to go into the churches and find those strong.
No effort.
Right.
No effort was made. None. The REC was a fairly substantial organization, met every month, meets every month. Did the leadership in that REC go out and have conversations with other members and say, hey, we need you to run for this, we need you to run for that? I can tell you from experience that with our previous regime, 2 regimes back in the REC in Orange County, I was tapped to run for county tax assessor. I don't know squat about assessing taxes or real estate, for that matter. But I was on the ballot, and they wanted to make sure that there was somebody on every slot from the Republican Party, at least to show the flag. We're not doing that anymore. We're just letting them go. Look what happened. We let go, State 17. We just let Carlos Guillermo Smith just walk into it. He didn't have to do a thing. And there was nobody to run against him.
And the point we're making with these elections is the more pro-choice elected officials you have in power, in races where it seems like it, because I've heard people say before, why do you care if the person who's running for tax collector cares about pro-life or pro-choice? Because it all is part of a movement. And if you get a whole order of government, from the tax collector, heck, from the dog catcher all the way up to your congressman, if that area is all pro-choice, that's what's going to happen. Babies will continue to be slaughtered in wholesale. They will.
And a lot of times they start earlier in their dog catcher, whatever it is.
Yeah, they eventually work their way up to something.
They are working their way up, and they're starting in the smaller, and that's what the Democrats have been doing with Maxwell Frost and several others.
Yeah.
So if you can start at a smaller, then it's a little bit easier to get elected, or there's nobody running.
It creates
How easy is
familiarity
that?
of the name and that sort of thing. And yes, and they move forward with a radical left agenda, which unborn babies wind up paying a severe price for. Now, Chris, you used a term earlier, and I want to enlighten everyone when you said the REC, and you mentioned it 2 or 3 times. REC is the acronym for Republican Executive Committee. The Republicans have an executive committee. The Democrats have an executive committee. I think the only ones that don't have an executive committee are the independents and the socialists. Thank goodness. But the executive committees are made up of all the precincts, the voting precincts in every county. There are committee precinct men and women. And their job is to get out and help get people galvanized, to help drive votes, to support candidates of their party for election, and to make sure that people are educated about the issues that are out there. Now, I was a chairman, and now Vicky and I are both precinct committee man and woman for Precinct 4 in Seminole County. And so we spend time talking with folks about the issues that are out there and the candidates that are out there. So let's get back to it really quick here before we get into another break here. We talked about the pro-choice candidates. Who are the pro-life candidates that are out there, Chris?
Let me give you a list. I've got more pro-choice leaders. We can leave the pro-choice people alone for now. Excuse me. To go to the people who are on our side of the issue and support abortion rights, do not support abortion rights, who oppose abortion. We have people such as Anthony Sabatini, formerly in the Florida House, now in Lake County. John Micah, also formerly a congressman. And currently we have other candidates who oppose abortion and restrictions, but support restrictions. And those include Corey Mills, who is in Florida 7, and you know him. Dan Webster, Florida 11. Michael Waltz, Florida 6, now in the Trump administration. Scott Franklin, Florida 18. Bill Posey, Florida 8. Jason Brodeur, Florida Senate, Seminole. And Volusia. Tom Leake, Florida Senate, Volusia. Rachel Placon, Florida House, Seminole. Carolina Amnesty. I think she's still in office, is she not?
Yes, she is. Yes, she is. No. I take that back. No, she is not in office anymore.
She's out, right?
She is out. She is out.
Webster Barnaby in Volusia. Doug Bankson. Chase Tremont. Tyler Sirois in Brevard. And Keith Trunow in Lake. Those are all people who are opposing abortion. Voting yes on that really critical piece of legislation, which was Senate Bill 300 in 2023, which reduced the period during which an abortion could be performed to 6 weeks. Remember how controversial that was. Ended up getting resolved in the state Supreme Court. So now we have a 6-week window, so to speak. And there are a number of other provisions that are very interesting and important. I think one is that you can't simply go and buy a pill through the mail and use it. You have to be interviewed and supervised by an abortion practitioner. And I believe that medicated abortion is illegal in the state of Florida altogether. Is that true, Vicky?
I am unsure. I would hate to say yes, and then it is. So I'm not gonna say either way on that.
But we'll find out.
But we will find
We'll
out.
find out and get the answer for you. Now, you didn't mention any of the ones who are running for the governor's mansion, because we've got that race coming up. That's a big one. And a few weeks ago, we had the opportunity to hear Paul Renner speak, and he claims
Yes.
to be pro-life, but he seemed to be a little bit weak on if a law crossed his desk to end abortion as to whether or not he would sign it. And so to me, that says a little wishy-washy. Now, we've had Congressman Byron Donalds on this show, and he and his wife both come off as very pro-life Christians. But to be fair, I did not ask the question, would he sign a law if it crossed his desk? But the next time we talk, I will. Hey, we've got a quick break that we're going to take, and then we'll be right back with more Pro-Life Radio on a Sunday night. If you like this show, you like this ministry, you want to protect the unborn, you want to keep education out there about the truth of abortion, help us keep this show on the air. Details are coming up on how you can do just that. Coming up next on AM 950, FM 94.9, The Answer, streaming on theanswerorlando.com.
Bruce?
Yeah, I'm here. Hang on just a second. I'm making a note. Okay. I rushed that on the Byron Donalds thing, so let's, I want to go back to that a bit, and I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. I have your list in front of me.
Oh, okay.
You've got, 8 people running as Republicans and 6 running as Democrats? Which ones are viable?
Donalds, Paul Renner are about the only 2 viable ones I see on there.
Okay.
What about?
I have no idea.
Duda? Or whatever?
Duda was supposed to be running, but I don't see Duda's name on there anywhere.
And of course, you got. Is it Demings now running too?
Demings, well, he's a Democrat.
Well, I
Demings
know
is
that.
running.
Yes.
Jerry Demings is running. I'd say he's viable because he's got severe name recognition, and the Democrats are gonna get behind him big time. And I think they have to. I think I'll be happy to say this on the air. I believe he's running because his job is to try and give them an option for the black community, because they're worried that Byron Donalds might, get a large amount of the black vote and win. And so they want to try and siphon off some of the black vote by having Jerry Demings on.
And I would like to come back with about the abortion pills.
Okay, abortion pills. So we'll start with the abortion. Well, let's start with.
Okay. So
Oh, sorry, 'cause
let
I
me
looked
read you
it
what
up.
I've got here. What?
Because I looked it up and
Sorry?
the chemical abortions.
The chemical abortion pills about Medicaid. Is that what you were saying, Chris? What was
No,
that?
we were
No,
talking about it
that's
if it was
your-
legal or not in Florida.
It says here, medication abortion counts as abortion procedure under the law. Statute defines abortion broadly, so physicians must establish gestational age, provide informed consent,
Okay.
dispense the medication in person,
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well.
document compliance.
Okay. Well, let's hold off till we get live here, or till we go back to recording. So, okay. So, Vicky, what do you have? Let's make sure we're on
I'm
the same
just saying
page
that chemical abortions are legal in Florida up to 6 weeks.
here. Okay.
But you do have to have the in-person visit
Okay. Okay.
and no over.
So what
in
he
the
was
mail.
saying. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
All right then. And so we'll hit the abortion pills first, then we'll talk about the candidates again. Okay?
I don't think we want to spend too much time on each candidate. I mean, reading too much about
We're
it.
not. No, we're not going to spend too much time on it. We're just going to touch on it.
Okay.
Okay. All right, Pete, we are ready, and Vicky, you'll bring us back.
It's up to you.
Okay.
Okay. I'll
3,
read.
2, 1.
And welcome back to Pro-Life Radio on a Sunday evening. I'm Vicky Cherry. Across from me is my handsome husband. I think that's why he likes me to bring us back in, because I always say how handsome he is. So anyway,
I have to pay her for that, everybody. It's, I'm almost broke now.
we have with us online Chris Casler. He is the curator, I guess. I don't know what you would call it,
Creator
Chris. The
of
creator
Yeah.
of the coin, the pro-life coin. It's beautiful, and Bruce is holding it up now to the camera. Please go on to the website and pick up your coin so that you can have that as a memorial that you are supporting all that you can in the pro-life.
Yeah.
Because we know the other side is pro-death. We say pro-choice. That makes it sound so much better, but it isn't. It's pro-death. Pro-death. So we were talking about the legalities of the chemical abortion pill in Florida. And yes, it is legal in Florida up to 6 weeks. But you have to, like Chris, you had said, you have to go into the doctor. You can't just get it. And then you also have to have, are not supposed to take the mail. You cannot mail that to a patient in Florida.
It has to be mailed to a doctor? Is that what
I'm just saying that you can't, like a woman cannot
order
by
it
law,
herself.
legally order it and use it.
Okay. All right. We were also talking about the candidates running for governor and who's pro-life and who's not. And right now there's not a real accurate list out there other than, and just because they have a Republican after their name or before their name does not mean that they are instantly pro-life. As we know, politicians tend to be very good about, playing word games, if you will. And so that's why I don't want to come out and say that Paul Renner is not pro-life, but I was not impressed with his answer to the question: if a law crossed your desk to end abortion in Florida, would you sign it? And he says, well, it would depend on the legalities of it. I don't think that the governor has the authority to end abortion, but the governor does have the authority according to the Constitution, because the governor has to protect the elements of the Constitution: life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So a governor, if they weren't concerned with having a second term, could today sign a document saying, okay, executive order, no more abortion in the state of Florida. No more abortion pills, no chemical abortion, no medical abortion, no exceptions. They could end it right there. But we just don't have governors that around the country or we've got a few that have that kind of courage, but not many.
Well, and there's debate between lawyers, because wasn't that his, Renner said he is a lawyer and he does not agree that a governor has that power. Now, we've heard from other lawyers that they do have that power.
Yeah.
So
we've heard some really good lawyers who argue cases before the Supreme Court on a regular basis, and they've said, yeah, the governor does have that authority. So
if you haven't seen it, there is a palm card that you can fill out that's just basically saying your name and that you want the governor to step up and outlaw abortion in Florida. I know Tom Vail has those out there. He's been doing that for a while. A lot of other people are agreeing with it. And that's what they're for, is to tell the governor, we want you to do this.
And I think if anyone attends any of the club meetings, the Republican club meetings, I think they've been available at the tables there. I know we have them available at Liberty Church on Sunday mornings. If you don't have one, you can get one. And you just put your name on it and say, yes, I support this governor. Please sign this document. But, now, Chris, we got Chris Casler on the line. Chris, we were talking about the candidates for governor. There's only like a handful, it seems like. I know there are 27 people have signed up, have put their paperwork in to run for governor of Florida. But they're all, at best, long shots. The ones that seem to be viable candidates, if I may use a word from the pro-choice movement. Byron Donalds, obviously, he's got the endorsement of President Trump. He's a congressman. He's been voting the way that we want him to vote in Congress. He's done some really great work. You've got Paul Renner, former Speaker of the House for Florida. Then looking at the Democrats, I'd say the one that has the best shot from the Democratic Party is Jerry Demings. What do you think, Chris?
Well, sitting here in the middle of Orange County, it would look that way. So I tend to agree with you. I don't have any reason not to. I think that David Jolly has a shot, but I don't know the game in Tallahassee well enough to tell you.
I think Jerry Demings was put in by the Democratic Party for a reason. The Democratic Party, I think, is scared. In the presidential election, more black men voted Republican than I believe ever before. Or, no, I shouldn't say ever before. Than probably since post-Civil War. Because for the longest time in this country, most black men were Republicans. So I should clarify that.
Sure.
Since the Civil War, since blacks were allowed to vote after the Civil War.
Well, and a lot of people forget that's why the Republican Party started.
Was to abolish slavery. And the reason I'm a Republican now is I want to abolish abortion. and I'm a constitutionalist. I believe in our right to religious freedom. I believe in our right to protect ourselves and bear arms. I believe in our right to free speech. And the other side seems to be against all those things. So anyway, Jerry Demings, and I said this during the commercial break, and I will say it on the air. I believe that he was put in the race by the Democratic Party because, one, I think he's just about termed out for Orange County mayor.
Yes. Yes.
And he's been a civil servant for a long time, collecting a check from government for a long, long time. And I think he was put in because so many black men voted Republican the last election, and I think they're afraid that those same black men are going to vote Byron Donald into the governor's mansion, and so they want to try and siphon off some black votes, believing that Jerry Demings will get those votes. And I can say that without being, well, I can say that without being called a racist because I am a black man. But I've also been called a racist because I'm a Republican. So, I will tell you, I've spent some time in politics. I think that's one of the things that was discussed, and I would bet you that Jerry Demings knows that.
Okay, let me ask you another question, since you're closer to this than I am.
Yes, sir.
How important is this issue in that race? In other words, if you rank the 10 issues that are on people's minds, cost of living, cost of groceries, real estate taxes, global warming, war in Ukraine, abortion rights, and so forth. Where does abortion stand in this particular race? Not necessarily at the national level or congressional level, but in terms of the state of Florida.
I would say it's probably one of the important things that's being discussed in both parties. But right now, it hasn't been brought to the foreground. The parties only seem to, and the left is the party that seems to want to make it an issue in the foreground. We, as abolitionists, have to be aware that another Amendment 4 is going to come our way sometime, and it's going to be very important as to who is in the governor's mansion when it does, and we've got to be prepared. And if you've got somebody in there that's not all the way in for abolishing abortion, then Florida stands on the precipice of being one of the most liberal states when it comes to abortion if we don't get the right person in the governor's mansion. And I can promise you, if anyone with a Democrat after their name gets in there, Amendment 4 will come back sooner than you think. And especially if they get control of the House and the Senate here in Florida. It's just a matter of time.
Did you conduct polling for Amendment 4 or for the opposition of it? Did you come up with any numbers on whether it was how important it was to people?
The Republican Party did, and we know for a fact that in Seminole County, if the whole state had to rely on Seminole County, and I'm not proud of this because I was chairman at the time, but if the whole state had relied on Seminole County, abortion would have been enshrined into our Constitution. And the reason for that is that abortion is not a Republican and not a Democrat issue, even though the parties have made it one. It's not. It's an issue of right and wrong, of good versus evil. It's black and white. And so you've got some Republicans that claim to be Republicans, but they're okay with abortion because they've got limits on it. They're okay with it in cases of rape or incest or in case of the mother's life is in danger. There are very few opportunities or very few instances where the mother's life is truly in danger if they don't abort the baby, because the abortion itself can be as taxing on a woman's body as actually give birth, because any way it goes, the baby has to come out of the woman. Okay? We are so medically advanced that the mother's life and the baby's life can be saved. So that's just one of the lies that is told to everyone through Planned Parenthood and through the pro-choice movement, that they want to have some options there. In the case of rape, in the case of incest. And so you've got people that are on both sides of the coin that will say, okay, I'm okay with it there. And so when you talk about abolishing abortion, it scares them. But these are also people who aren't strong in their faith, that God's in control. God's got this. We do not have the right to end a life that God has ordained to live.
Well, and Bruce, what you're talking about there, I totally agree with. I also see that, it is good and evil. It is going with God or with Satan. And unfortunately, it looks like the majority of the people are siding with things that are not of God. And our Constitution is built on belief in God. And if we cannot get back to that, what happens, Chris?
Who were the major groups, organizations opposing for? Is there a group in particular?
Opposing?
Catholic Church,
you're talking about opposing Amendment 4 going through, or rooting for Amendment 4? Which are you saying?
Opposing it.
Well, there was Vicky was captain of the Human Life Protection Amendment Group, and they were all over the state. Seminole County Republican Executive Committee, we were opposing Amendment 4. The Republican Party of Florida was opposing Amendment 4. Liberty Council Action opposed Amendment 4. ProLife Action Ministries opposed Amendment 4. There were several large, prominent groups that opposed Amendment 4.
A lot of it got in too late, I think, too. Though. Go ahead, Chris.
So then, and then who was arrayed on the other side against us, on the other team?
Oh, my goodness. You know what? That's a good question, and I'll answer it when we come back. We're up against a break here. More Pro-Life Radio coming up. Our final segment next on AM 950, FM 94.9, The Answer. Hey, Pete.
What segment are we going into?
Pete, are we going into segment 4? Yeah, we're going into segment 4. I'm keeping up here.
Wow, I was thinking
Sister?
segment 3.
Yeah, see?
All right.
She's sitting there shaking her head at me like, no, let's say we got another one. No.
I was like, I was asking.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Okay, so the answer is who was opposing us, and I will answer that question when we come back. Vicky, you'll bring us back again. And ask.
And I have a couple other questions to go along with it.
Okay.
To get down to that.
So, who opposed ending?
Whatever happened to Val Demings, by the way?
She's sitting around probably losing firearms at her boyfriend's house. I don't know. Oh, did I say that? Sorry.
Well, she's got more, when you talk about, Demings has got name recognition here in Orange County.
Yeah.
Really nowhere else in the state. So, but she has more name recognition. I just wonder why they went with him instead of her.
Because she's lost 2 elections. She ran for re-election in Congress, lost that, and then she ran again, I think, and lost that. So I think her political capital's gone.
And if we're talking about males voting for black males, they're going to probably want to run a black male.
Well, maybe, yeah.
Unless it's a really beautiful black.
I was just wondering about that, because I'm sure it was. So she'll end up running for something.
Oh yeah.
It's all part of that big cabal, Democratic cabal of state and national.
Yeah, probably.
What were you saying?
Don't forget, Nancy Pelosi is Val Demings' major mentor, supporter in the party, or has been.
Oh, and Nancy Pelosi announced this week she's not running for re-election.
Right, so her change in fortunes may have an effect too.
Yeah, maybe so. Maybe so. Okay, let's go ahead and jump back into segment 4 here. Here we go in 3, 2, 1.
And welcome back to Pro-Life Radio. I'm Vicky Cherry. Across from me is my handsome husband, Bruce. On the line with us, we have Chris Casler. And we are talking about pro-life, pro-death, and the candidates that are running, and the coin that Chris has created and minted, and all those kinds of things. Right. So, Chris, you had a question before we went to break. Go ahead and ask that again.
Well, I'm interested in which groups are on each side of this divide. Mm-hmm. I'm picturing it kind of like a soccer team. Mm-hmm. You've got forwards, and you've got all the different players on the field arrayed against each other. So the question then, if it's a team game, so to speak, with different groups, each of which would be a player in this analogy. How are they organized and how are they led? What's the are they just sort of on the field, headed in the same direction without a strategy, or is there any coordination, and is there a coordinating group for us in particular?
I will jump in and answer that. First off, there were several groups that were opposing what we were doing with fighting for Amendment 4 to not be on the ballot. There were groups that were supporting it. A lot of support came from outside the state, and a lot of it came from outside the country. There was a billionaire out of Switzerland or Sweden, someplace like that, that was pumping money into the pro-Amendment 4. They were supporting it.
We also have to remember there was a lot of cheating going on.
Well, that's how they were doing that. The cheating was being funded by this billionaire from outside the country. So there was a lot of support. Of course, Planned Parenthood was all over this. George Soros allegedly was all over this. And when I say the billionaire out of Sweden, it was not George Soros. It was somebody else. And that's why one of the things that Governor Ron DeSantis wanted to do was to prevent, he tried to put a law in place to prevent money from outside the country being funneled into, to change the Constitution of the state of Florida, to being funneled in here. So the various groups that supported Amendment 4, of course, the Democratic Party, because they had made it a huge political issue, Planned Parenthood, and sadly enough, there were some churches, I don't think there was an organized effort by churches, but there were some churches who were supporting Amendment 4. Vicky, you went to a rally down at
Lake Eola?
Lake Eola, and there were busloads of churches coming in with pastors that were supporting Amendment 4.
And they're still all over the place supporting abortion.
So, Vicky, was your group a coalition, the group you were running?
No, we started with the Human Life Protection Amendment, and there was not enough support. We didn't make the ballot. And then, later in the race, then the abortion group, the Democrats, put their spin on it. But what I'm referring to is the cheating of the petitions. They had people that were dead that were signing petitions. They had people signing more than one petition. And we have had some help, I guess, with changing those laws. So the outside influence, the petition gathering, all of that.
Petition takers can no longer, my understanding is they can no longer be from outside the state coming here for work. Petition takers have to be state residents. Yeah, because they were flying them in, busing them in from places like New York and California, and they were paying them, and so they put several laws in place. They can only have X number of petitions in their hand at one time. They cannot be paid per petition, which is what they were doing, and they found a way around it. They told them you have to have a minimum of 5 petitions an hour, and if you do, we'll pay you $50. Well, that put a $10 per petition bounty, if you will, on getting signatures. And so that law has changed that they can no longer do that. So, kudos to our governor. Ron DeSantis has been a great governor for us, and I truly will miss him. Mm-hmm. And I pray that, our next governor, whether it be Byron Donalds or Paul Renner or whoever it's going to be, will be just as good a governor.
Has there been any talk about what we think DeSantis is going to do? Chris, have you heard anything?
You mean his next go-around?
What's
no,
he
I
gonna,
haven't.
Yeah. I mean, is
no, I have. Well, the hint is he's going to run for president again. But nothing that I've seen that's formal.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So he's been a great governor, that's for sure. And I can tell you, I probably would not be sitting here if it weren't for some of the things he did, because I had COVID, and Pete in the next studio had COVID as well. We had it at the same time. I had it severely, and the ivermectin didn't touch it. And a friend of mine made me aware of the monoclonal regenerative therapy that our governor had instituted in the state of Florida and saved lives. And I had that treatment, and within 12 hours, it was like I'd never been sick.
And then Joe Biden figured out that, well, not him, but his auto pen.
Yeah.
figured out we were doing well with that, and so he took that away from our
He
state.
stopped the shipments of the therapy to Florida.
But Chris, I would like to hear what your thoughts are on this fight for the unborn, the preborn. They're human beings. Now,
Yes.
how much of it do you think is God and Satan? How much of it do you think is moral, immoral? What are your thoughts on the whole movement, so to speak?
Movement, I can't say particularly because that verges into politics. But I would say that the effort to kill the unborn, to destroy the family, to ruin the lives of our young people with all kinds of transgender nonsense, homosexuality, is definitely demonic and satanic. I don't have any doubt about it.
Yeah.
Particularly when you see how these people get caught up in it. They become completely overwhelmed and have no longer have a sense of judgment. I think it's really demonic, and it's manifest politically, perhaps, but that's not where it starts.
Now, Vicky, you were telling me she finds material all the time online during the course of the week. You found that now something else that's being done is frozen embryos are being turned into jewelry?
Oh, my gosh, yes.
I saw that.
These are
Hideous.
human beings. And to have the idea that we can take something that God ordained and it's sacred, it's life, it's beautiful, and turn it into jewelry. It scares me what we're doing with our children, our children are not our first thought, that it's us, it's adults, it's everything is so self-centered. And it's horrible. And, there are some things that are trying to combat that. IVF, I kind of have I can understand people wanting to have a child. I get that. I have children. I understand. But when you're taking and you're storing 8, 10, 20 children, because that's what they are. Because a lot of people, I don't think, understand that IVF, it is not the egg and the sperm separate. They're combined because they can't survive separate. So you've already created a life. And to let that baby sit in a frozen, suspended nature for, like 24 years or more, they do have what they call snowflakes, snowflake babies, which is, it's really the only moral thing to do. What do you do if you've created 8 embryos and you only use 2? What about those other 4? Now, some of them may not be viable and they wouldn't survive, but what about the ones that will? And so there are, ministries that are putting on those babies like Nightlight Christian Adoption. They call it snowflakes, and they're taking those embryos and finding homes and letting people adopt these babies. But their life is just not valued. It's scary.
Wow. It's... What have we come to?
You mentioned life is not valued. That same principle applies to people being sent to the gulag or the death camps or the work camps. Life is not valued. They're just a number, a commodity, and we'll either work them
And
to
let's
death,
turn
starve
them
them
into
to death,
jewelry
or
now. I'd have a ring
and,
with my baby embryo in it.
Well, the Nazis famously made lampshades out of human skin out of the death camps. They're hideous.
That's not idiocy. That's just pure evil. It's just evil.
Yeah,
just pure evil. Wow.
Chris, we only have
we've
about
lost
2
our
minutes.
way in some ways.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, we have. So, Chris, what do you want us to end us on a good note here? We have about 2 minutes.
Oh, well, actually, I'm encouraged. I know that we were somewhat mildly disappointed at the outcome of the election, but the bottom line was we prevented it becoming enshrined in the Constitution.
Amen.
The numbers were not as good as we would have liked, but at least we dodged that bullet. And I think that our new president, our current president, he's not all that new, has a good grasp on this business. I think he does value life. I think it's not just his abortion stance, but also his eagerness to prevent warfare. He comes at the Ukraine thing as saying he just wants the killing to stop. And I personally feel the same way. How he's going to do it, I don't know. But that's a motivation, I think. That's the right kind of thinking. That's what we need.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to need more and more. We're going to need young, healthy children in this country. And I think all the effort we're making to curb or prevent abortion is a part of that. And I'm encouraged that we're going to be successful.
It's all in God's hands, and we know He wins.
Yep. Always. Chris, thank you so much for joining us. Chris Casler, he's an artist. He's an abolitionist. He is a active citizen in our community. He is the creator of the ProLife silver coin, Am I Not a Child to You, my brothers and sisters? And again, you can get it at christiancoins.net. That's christiancoins.net. Chris, thank you so much for joining us tonight. ProLife Radio will be back again next week with another show. And we thank you for listening. We thank you for your support and prayers for all of you and your household. Good night. Chris, thank you very much. Pete, if you
You're
want,
welcome.
just a note, Pete, I think about 3 minutes into the first segment there is where that edit needs to take place. Okay?
Yes,
Thank you, sir.
Please.
Yeah.
I'm glad I got really off to a poor start there, but I'm glad we got to redo it.
That's okay. That's the benefit of recording the show.
Yeah.
Yes.
And, sir,
Yes.
I guess we will see you at church tomorrow.
Yeah, look forward to it. Be
All
there.
right. Thank you.
All right.
Thanks,
God bless
Chris.
You, all.
You
Thank
too.
You.
Take
Bye
care.
now. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Chevelle.
Sherville, S-H-I-R-V.
S-H. Sherville. S-H. Shoot. S-H-I-R-V-E-L.
Yeah, V-E-I-L.
V-E-L.
Ville. Sherville.
Shervale. V-E-I-L.